Hey everyone! Welcome back to the channel where we uncover the hidden treasures hiding inside your pocket change. If you love coin collecting, history, or just want to know if that old penny sitting in your drawer could be worth a fortune, then you're in the right place. First up, the 1929 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny is a fascinating early 20th century U.S. coin that carries both historical and collectible appeal. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which means there is no mint mark below the date. Like all wheat pennies, it features the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse side. Designed by Victor David Brenner, and the classic two wheat ears design on the reverse, symbolizing prosperity and the nation's agricultural foundation. The inscriptions, "In God We Trust Liberty," and the date, 1929, appear on the front, while the reverse reads, 1 cent United States of America, e pluribus unum. This coin was minted during the final years of the Roaring Twenties, just before the Great Depression, which gives it special historical meaning. The Philadelphia Mint produced approximately 185 million wheat pennies in 1929, so it's not considered rare in general circulation grades. However, its age, design, and century-old story make it a beloved piece for collectors of vintage U.S. coins. You described your coin as being in damaged condition with some scratches, and that's an important detail for determining its value. Damaged condition typically means the coin has visible signs of post-mint harm, things like dents, deep scratches, corrosion, pitting, or bending. Such damage usually happens long after the coin left the mint, from years of circulation, improper storage, or environmental exposure. Even though these marks tell a story of how long the coin has survived, they also reduce its collector value, since numismatists prefer coins with clean, original surfaces and minimal wear. In a damaged condition, the 1929 wheat penny's value mostly depends on how much of the design is still visible. If Lincoln's face, the date, and the wheat stalks can still be seen, even with scratches and wear, the coin will usually fall into a low-grade category, such as about good, AG, or good G. Coins in this condition show heavy wear, smooth details, and often uneven coloring. Because of that, their market value is primarily sentimental rather than monetary. In today's market, 2025, a 1929 Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark in damaged or heavily worn condition with scratches is generally worth around 5 to 15 cents. If the coin is extremely worn or has serious surface damage, it may only be worth face value, 1 cent, to most dealers. However, if the damage is light and the coin still shows clear date and details, it could reach closer to 15 to 25 cents among casual collectors or in mixed bulk lots of early wheat pennies. Coins from this year in higher grades are more desirable. For example, a fine-condition 1929 penny with strong details and even brown color might sell for 0,50 to 1 2,000, while an extra-fine XF coin could bring $2 to $3. Uncirculated coins with red or red-brown color are far more valuable, typically worth $10 to $30, and those graded by professional services like PCGS or NGC in MS65 red condition can exceed $75 to $150. But these values apply only to well-preserved, undamaged coins, not those that have been heavily scratched or corroded. It's also possible, though uncommon, that your coin could show a minting error such as a die crack, lamination flaw, or off-center strike. If the damage you see appears raised or part of the original minting process rather than something that happened after, it could actually be a genuine error. In that case, the coin might be worth more, sometimes several dollars, depending on how obvious the error is. You can check for this by looking closely with a magnifying glass or comparing it to pictures of verified 1929 Lincoln cent errors online. The coin's color and surface texture can also affect appeal. Many old copper coins darken over time, turning brown or even blackish from oxidation. A naturally toned, even brown color is fine and expected, but green corrosion spots, rough surfaces, or pitting can lower value further. Avoid cleaning the coin, as cleaning removes natural toning and makes scratches more visible, reducing what little collector value it may have left. Next up, the 1945 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny is one of the most recognizable coins from the mid-20th century and remains a popular collectible among coin enthusiasts today. This particular coin was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which means it has no mint mark under the date. Like all wheat pennies, the obverse of the coin features the classic portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the inscriptions "In God We Trust, Liberty" and the year 1945. On the reverse, you can see the familiar two wheat stalks framing the words 1 cent, United States of America, and E pluribus unum. The 1945 Lincoln wheat penny was produced during the final year of World War II, a time when copper was a valuable material used for wartime manufacturing. During this period, the U.S. Mint had resumed producing bronze cents after experimenting with steel pennies in 1943 due to metal shortages. As the war ended in 1945, millions of these bronze coins were made to meet post-war economic demand. The Philadelphia Mint struck over $1 billion, exactly $1,040,515,000, Lincoln cents in that year, making the 1945 issue one of the most common wheat pennies ever minted. Your coin is described as being in damaged condition with some scratches, which means it has experienced significant wear or harm after leaving the mint. Damage could include dents, heavy scratches, discoloration, corrosion, or bending. These imperfections typically occur from years of circulation, improper storage, or exposure to moisture and chemicals. While such flaws tell the story of the coin's long life, they do lower its market value since collectors prefer coins that are well preserved and show minimal surface damage. Because your coin has no mint mark and is damaged, its grade would likely fall near the about good AG to good G range on the numismatic scale. In these conditions, Lincoln's image is visible but worn smooth. Lettering may be faint in spots, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are often flattened or faded. Scratches add further detracting marks that reduce eye appeal. If there is deep surface damage or heavy corrosion, the coin might even be considered environmentally damaged, a category that numismatists often exclude from grading altogether. In today's market, 2025, a 1945 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark in damaged condition with scratches typically sells for 2 to 10 cents. The exact value depends on how much of the design remains visible and how severe the damage is. If the coin's features are still mostly intact, but the surface is dull or scratched, it might reach the higher end of that range. However, if it's deeply gouged, corroded, or bent, most dealers would only value it at 1 cent, essentially face value. Even though the 1945 penny is common and low in value in poor condition, it still holds historical charm. Coins like yours circulated through the hands of Americans in the years immediately following World War II, helping rebuild a nation returning to peace and prosperity. The fact that your coin is still around 80 years later, even with its damage, shows how durable these early Lincoln cents were. In better grades, the 1945 penny can be slightly more valuable. For example, a fine condition, 1945, no mint mark penny with moderate wear might be worth $0.15 to $0.125, while a very fine VF example could bring $0.30 to $0.50. Coins in extra fine, XF, or uncirculated MS condition, especially those with bright red color, can range from $1 to $5, and certified mint state examples can sell for $10 to $25 or more. However, those prices apply only to coins with smooth, undamaged surfaces and strong detail, not to coins with scratches or heavy wear. it's also worth checking for any mint errors that might be mistaken for damage. Some 1945 pennies have minor die cracks, off-center strikes, or lamination flaws that occurred during minting. These genuine minting errors can be collectible and may raise the coin's value slightly, sometimes to a few dollars, depending on how noticeable and rare the flaw is. But post-mint damage, such as scratches or dents from circulation, does not add any value. If your coin is dirty or corroded, avoid cleaning it. Cleaning can make scratches more visible and strip away the original surface layer, which lowers its appeal to collectors. The best way to preserve it is to gently store it in a coin holder or album and keep it away from moisture and direct sunlight. Next up, the 1937 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny with the D mint mark is a beautiful and historic coin from the pre-World War II era. It was struck at the Denver Mint, which is what the D under the date represents. Like all Lincoln wheat cents, the obverse of the coin features the portrait of Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, along with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust Liberty," and the year 1937. The 1937 D wheat penny was produced during the Great Depression, a period of significant economic hardship for the United States. Even though the country was beginning to recover, many people struggled financially, and coins like this one circulated widely in everyday transactions. The Denver Mint produced around 50,400 to 30,000 pennies in 1937, making it a moderately common issue among wheat cents. Not particularly rare, but still collectible, especially in higher grades or when preserved in excellent condition. You mentioned that your coin is in fine condition with some scratches. A coin graded as fine, F, typically shows moderate wear across Lincoln's portrait and the reverse design, but all major details remain visible. On your coin, Lincoln's hair and beard may appear smooth in spots, but the facial features and lettering are still distinct. The wheat ears on the reverse may be worn but should retain clear outlines. The presence of some scratches means there are light marks or surface abrasions, most likely from contact with other coins during circulation. These minor flaws slightly reduce eye appeal, but don't drastically lower the coin's overall grade. In today's market, 2025, a 1937 D Lincoln wheat penny in fine condition with some scratches is generally worth around 15 to 25 cents. The exact value depends on the depth and visibility of the scratches, as well as the coin's color and overall appearance. If the scratches are light and the coin still has a pleasing brown or red-brown tone, it will be closer to the higher end of that range. If the marks are deeper or there are small areas of corrosion, the value may drop toward the lower end. Coins in higher grades from this year are worth more. For example, a very fine VF 1937 D penny can be worth around 30 to 50 cents, while extra fine XF examples might reach 1/12 cents. Uncirculated coins, especially those with red or red-brown color, are far more valuable, ranging from $3 to $15, and high-grade mint state, MS65 red. Coins can sell for $40 to $100 or more when certified by professional grading companies such as PCGS or NGC. Although your coin's value in fine condition is modest, it still has strong collectible appeal because of its age and historical background. The year 1937 marked an important time in U.S. history. The country was slowly emerging from the Great Depression, and new policies were reshaping the economy. Coins from this period carry a story of resilience and recovery, and the 1937 D penny is a small but tangible piece of that era. When examining your coin, it's also worth checking for any minting errors, as error coins from the 1930s can be quite collectible. Look closely for things like double-die obverses, off-center strikes, or lamination cracks. If you ever spot a doubled image on the date or lettering, or if the coin appears misaligned, it could be a valuable mint error worth several dollars or more. However, If the scratches and damage occurred after the coin left the mint, they would not add value, they would only be considered post-mint wear. In terms of appearance, a fine-grade coin from this era typically has a brown patina, which is completely natural for old copper coins. It's best not to clean the coin, even if it looks slightly dirty or dull. Cleaning can make scratches more visible, remove the natural toning, and significantly reduce collector interest. Instead, store it in a dry coin holder or album to protect it from further damage. Next up, the 1951 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is a mid-century classic and part of one of America's most beloved coin series. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which means it does not have a mint mark under the date. Like all Lincoln wheat cents, the obverse features the familiar portrait of President Abraham Lincoln, designed by Victor David Brenner, with the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1951. The 1951 wheat penny was minted during a time of post-World War II growth and optimism in the United States. By then, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over 40 years and was a symbol of American history and pride. The Philadelphia Mint produced an impressive 284,576,000 pennies in 1951, so this coin is not considered rare. However, many have been lost, corroded, or worn over time, and finding one in very fine condition, as yours is described, is still pleasing for collectors. A coin graded as very fine, VF, shows light to moderate wear across the design, but retains strong details. On your coin, Lincoln's facial features and hair are still visible, with only minor flattening from circulation. The lettering around the edges and the date are sharp, and the wheat stalks on the reverse are clearly outlined, though the inner lines may be faint. You also mentioned the coin has some scratches, small marks, or surface abrasions that likely came from years of handling or contact with other coins. These scratches slightly affect the coin's eye appeal, but are common in circulated pieces of this age. In today's market, 2025, a 1951 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark in very fine condition with some scratches is typically valued around 10 to 20 cents. The precise value depends on how visible and deep the scratches are, as well as the coin's color and surface quality. If the scratches are light, and the coin still has a clean brown or red-brown tone, it would be closer to the higher end of that range. If the scratches are more noticeable or if there are spots of corrosion, the coin might be valued closer to 10 cents. While this isn't a high-value coin, its historical significance and age make it a favorite among collectors and hobbyists. Coins from the early 1950s are often collected in sets, especially as part of full Lincoln wheat penny collections spanning from 1909 to 1958. A coin in very fine condition, even with light scratches, fits nicely into such collections because it shows both age and character without being overly worn. Higher-grade 1951 pennies can be worth more. In extra-fine XF condition, values can rise to around 0.255 to 0.35, and in uncirculated MS condition, the coin can range from $1 to $3, depending on its color, brown, red-brown, or red. Brilliant red uncirculated examples graded by PCGS or NGC can sell for $10 to $25 or more in MS65 red condition. However, those coins have never circulated and are completely free of scratches or damage. It's always a good idea to inspect your coin carefully for any minting errors, as certain errors from the early 1950s can increase a coin's value. Look for things like doubled lettering, off-center strikes, or die cracks. If you notice anything unusual that looks like it happened during minting, not after, it could be a valuable error coin. However, most scratches and marks on circulated coins are post-mint damage, which do not add value. When it comes to the coin's color, old copper cents often tone over time, turning from bright red to brown or even blackish shades. This is normal and expected for circulated coins. It's important not to clean or polish the coin, as cleaning removes the natural patina and makes scratches more visible, which decreases collector interest. To preserve your coin, store it in a dry coin holder or album, away from humidity and direct sunlight. Next up, the 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without a mint mark is one of the most well-known and widely collected coins in U.S. history. It was struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which means there is no mint mark beneath the date. This coin carries the classic Victor David Brenner design that has been admired for over a century, with the portrait of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse and the two wheat stalks on the reverse. The inscriptions read, "In God We Trust Liberty," and the year 1944 on the front, while the reverse displays 1 cent, United States of America, and E Pluribus Unum. The 1944 penny is an especially interesting coin because it came right after the famous 1943 steel cent. During 1943, the U.S. Mint made pennies out of zinc-coated steel to conserve copper for World War II ammunition and supplies. By 1944, however, the mint returned to using a bronze composition made from recovered wartime shell casings, which gave the 1944 penny its distinctive warm copper color. These coins were often called shell case cents because they were literally made from recycled materials from the war. The Philadelphia Mint produced a massive number of 1944 pennies, over 1.4 billion in total, making it one of the highest mintage years in U.S. cent history. Because of that, the coin is not rare, but it holds great historical value as a post-war piece symbolizing America's recovery and prosperity following World War II. You described your coin as being in good condition with some scratches. A coin graded as good G shows heavy wear from circulation, with much of the fine detail worn smooth. On your coin, Lincoln's portrait is still visible but flattened, and the hair and beard lines are likely faint or missing. The lettering around the rim, "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," may be readable, but weak. On the reverse side, the two wheat stalks are usually outlined but lack inner detail. The scratches you mentioned are common for circulated copper coins of this age, caused by contact with other coins or rough handling over the decades. In today's market, 2025, a 1944 Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark in good condition, with some scratches, typically has a value of around 2 to 5 cents. If the scratches are light and the coin still has decent color, it might reach closer to the higher end of that range. However, if the coin has deep marks, dark corrosion, or uneven discoloration, the value might stay around 2 to 3 cents. Even though it isn't rare, it remains collectible due to its historical background and its connection to the wartime era. Coins from 1944 in higher grades are worth more. In fine F condition, a 1944 penny might bring 5 to 10 cents, and in very fine VF condition, it could reach 15 to 25 cents. Uncirculated examples, especially those with bright red luster, are far more valuable, ranging from $1 to $5 depending on the color and surface quality. Certified high-grade coins in MS-65. Red can sell for $20 to $40 or more. There is also an extremely rare variety from 1944 that collectors dream about. The 1944 steel cent. Only a few of these were mistakenly struck on leftover 1920 Chanans in 1943 steel planchets, and they are worth thousands of dollars today. However, your coin, being made of copper and described as having scratches and wear, is the normal bronze version. Still, it's always good to test your coin with a magnet. If it sticks, you might have a valuable error. As for the scratches, they are typical signs of circulation. Minor surface marks don't usually affect a coin's value too much at this grade, but cleaning the coin would make them stand out more and reduce its worth. It's always best to avoid cleaning old coins, as collectors prefer the natural patina that develops over decades. Cleaning can strip away the coin's original surface layer and make it look unnaturally shiny, which lowers its collector appeal. Your coin's color, likely a mix of brown or dark copper, is common for older pennies. Over time, exposure to air and handling causes copper to oxidize and darken. This is completely normal and often adds to the coin's antique character. To summarize, your 1944 Abraham Lincoln wheat penny without mint mark, in good condition with some scratches, has modest monetary value but strong historical significance. In today's market, it's worth around 2 to 5 cents, depending on its overall appearance and level of wear. While it's not rare or highly valuable, it's a coin that has survived over 80 years and carries a story from one of the most transformative periods in American history. Every 1944 penny represents a time when the U.S. economy and people were rebuilding after the war. A simple, everyday coin that has endured for generations and continues to remind collectors of America's resilience and heritage.